Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're making every bunny's favorite cookie, little spotted bunnies. And if you're interested in cookie decorating or you've always wanted to learn, then you're in the right place. Let's decorate together. But before we get started, I did want to tell you about my new cookie class. Imagine creating this stunning, fully edible 3D Easter basket out of cookies that is sure to impress your family and friends. In my brand new online class, I'll guide you step by step on how to create this adorable cookie Easter basket from start to finish. You'll learn how to master royal icing consistencies, how to pipe a basket weave pattern, how to build a sturdy 3D cookie basket, how to bake cookies on a stick for adorable accents, and even how to paint on cookies. And you'll also get a full workbook with everything you need: supply lists, recipes, templates, practice sheets, everything to make learning easy and fun. So if you're interested in learning more about the class, there's a link in the description. But back to our bunny. So this little bunny cookie is about 2 inches. It's a cookie cutter from Sweetly Printed, and I will leave a link for it in the description. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to make this cute little spotted bunny. I started out by sketching out a design on the cookie using an edible marker. Then I outlined and flooded in one ear using a white royal icing in about a 15-second flood consistency. And I'm going to let that set up while I move down to his body, and I'm just going to outline everywhere except for where I want the spots to go and flood that in using the same consistency. And because my icing is a 15-second consistency, I can go right up to my outline and I don't have to worry that it's going to overflow the cookie. And then I'm going to use my scribe to shape this icing and move it around and make sure it's all level and that there aren't any air bubbles. And then I'll just immediately take my brown icing for the spots and outline and flood in all of those spots. This is a wet on wet technique. And what will happen is this will dry as one solid surface and there won't be any area or dent of separation in between the two. It's basically piping wet icing right up against wet icing, and that's why they call it a wet on wet technique. I'm just going to fill in all of these spots, and then I will gently jiggle them around with my scribe so that I don't smear the 2 icings together, but I do get them to settle down. And when you are doing a wet on wet design, you do need to work a little bit quickly so that the 2 icings can blend together before one starts to crust over. And so some people like to work with a thinner consistency icing, but this is what I prefer. And then while we've been doing that, the ear has had a chance to crust over, so I'm just going to go up here and do the other ear. I want to leave a little line of separation between the 2 down there at the bottom, and that's why I let the first one set up. And then I'll set this aside to dry while I move on over to the other spotted bunny cookie, and I want to show you how I did the ears. So I'm just going to take my brown icing and put a big amount of icing in the ear, and then I'm just going to take a dampened paintbrush and paint that icing on so that it covers pretty much the whole ear. And then I'll use my white icing in a 15-second consistency to outline the ears. I'm just going to touch down, lift up, and go around the ears, touching down at each corner. And I'm going to go over it again to make it a little bit thicker. And I'll use my scribe to shape it and bring my outline all the way down to the bow. And then I'll set this aside to dry, and we'll go back to the previous cookie. So I forgot to mention I've actually had this cookie in front of a fan so it could dry and crust over pretty quickly. And now I'm just going to outline the ears with my brown icing, and then use my scribe to shape that icing and flatten it out, and I'll do the same thing for the other ear. And by the way, this cookie dough is my chocolate chip pretzel cookie dough. It's delicious, and you can get the recipe for free. There's a link in my bio. And then I'm going to grab my black icing. It's about a 20-second consistency, and I'm just going to make 2 little ovals here for the nose. And then once I'm done making my ovals, I'll stop squeezing and drag them together at the bottom to form a little heart-shaped nose. And I'll just smooth that out a little bit with my scribe. And then I set this cookie back aside to dry until everything had crusted over, and now I'm coming back in with my pink icing, also in a 15-second consistency, and I'm just going to do the 2 outer bow loops. Then I'll settle that down with my scribe and set it aside to dry again. And then switching back to our other bunny cookie, once the bow loops had had a chance to dry, I just put a big dot in the center for the middle of the bow and use my scribe to settle that down. And then you can come on down to the cheeks for the bunny, and I'm using a pink petal dust from the Sugar Art, and I'll leave links to all the products in the description. And I'm just going to add a little bit of petal dust to the cheeks, and then we can pipe a couple dots for eyes. And make sure your cookie is fully dry before you use an edible marker. I just added some freckles, and then I'm going to give this cookie a few little whiskers. And then this cute Hoppin Easter Bunny cookie will be finished. It's so adorable. There's just something about spots. And here she is in all of her cuteness. And then I did the other cookie with closed eyes using my edible marker, and you can do that too. And then these cookies had a way of multiplying, and so here's a bunch of different designs I did, and I'll have videos for some of those coming up. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out the playlist. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a hoppin' good time.